We're going to do some really quick introductions, if that's okay. Go ahead and get started. Sorry the room's so crowded. Great turnout, though. If we can clear out that room, we'll move over and we'll be able to spread out more. But in the meantime, bear with us and get to know your neighbor. So, who's not been to an SDI event before? I don't think quite a few of you have. Okay, so Southern California Institute is an educational platform, for other professionals and for clients. And so this kind of describes who we are and the different types of programs that we offer. This is the front page of our website. So if you went to our website, you would see exactly this. We do family business owner events, and that's basically workshops where we partner with other professionals to put on events for their clients or for prospective clients. We do that in many different forms. Sometimes it's at restaurants. We even have a program that we do in Hawaii every couple of years. We have a program that we do fly fishing. So it's geared toward what people like to do. So that's family and business owner events. We also do advisor education. That's traditionally what this is. This is called Thursdays Insights, and that's just one of those types of advisor programs. We do it every week here in our office, different topics and different presenters. Every week we do also some like forums or conference types of events. We have something called practice developer programs where we partner with other groups of advisors. So we might work with Wells Fargo per se and do a training program for their group of advisors and go maybe once a month and do tailored topics for them. We do it on the caregiver side of the world as well, working with different associations, in-home care providers, facilities, things like that, or maybe a group of business owners. So lots of, and that just means it's a series of programs and we tailor for them. Then we just have deeper, for the advisor partnering, we just have deeper relationships with certain groups of advisors. It's fine. Where we will help them with tactical planning and messaging, so it's more working on their business or in their business with them. And then we have our virtual store, which is pretty exciting. We have lots of different topics up on our virtual store. You can go and kind of browse through them. Not quite as cool as Amazon, but you know you can choose your category, you can choose your speaker, that kind of thing. So it's pretty exciting. Let me tell you, it's manage those. So make sure you have some technical people working with you if you want to try that. So that's SCI. A lot of people ask us why do we do it? Why do we have SCI? And it's been around for about 13 years. So we've been doing this for quite a while. SCI was created to support initially this one law firm, Freddy Mancini, and now it supports three law firms, and a business consulting firm. And it does it by providing resources, education, and advice to the advisors and clients that those firms work with. So, Freddy Mancini is working with the Garmos. We are here to help their advisors and their clients as well. And so it's providing support through the network, right? Bringing those resources. And so the three law firms on the screen here are Freddy Mancini. Freddy Mancini typically works with the higher net worth clients, really on the wealth strategies, more complex type cases, tax planning, asset protection planning, those kinds of things. And then California State and Elder Law, that's a fairly new brand, and that was created about 2 years ago. And partnering with Joe Freddy and Steve Mancini, partnered with Scott Stewart, created California State and Elder Law as a new brand, merging parts of both of those practices. So now it handles all of our base level estate planning, trusts, wills, and all that kind of stuff. But it also helps people plan for the life, so the aging process and long-term care planning, qualifying for benefits. A lot of people don't understand how that works, Medi-Cal and Veterans Administration and all that good stuff. So that's what California State Notary Law does. And then also for estate settlement after someone dies. So that's that. We also have a criminal defense firm. That's basically because lots of people get in trouble, a lot of our clients get in trouble. We partner with Richard Katzman. He's the partner that runs that firm. And, they do a lot of DUIs and domestic violence and that kind of stuff. Joe's favorite thing to say is that, what do you say if you get pulled over? No. Always say no. They ask you if you've been drinking. Even if you have a bottle of tequila sitting in your lap and it's open and you spilled it on yourself, you still say no. Then we have a business consulting firm, and that's where we work with business owners more on team alignment and ownership alignment and working with them to help the owners kind of get out of their own way. So we're helping them more time and more money. That's what that is. So that's who we are. Normally, like I said, we're next door. Partner a lot with Freddy and Robert, and Alex is co-counsel to both firms. Partner for
Right in the door.
was a partner for many years. He's hiding. And so Freddy and Alex are going to be in their capable hands today. I don't know, Robert, are you talking to? Maybe?
Sure, I'll have something.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Talking about the sale of a business, right? So I'll let you guys
Thanks, Shelley.
take over.
Thank you.
Who's going to be in charge of this?
Good, good.
And the reason you guys say no is they say no. Because if you don't say no, right, then you're given probable cause to search or continue the investigation. If they say no, then they have to find probable cause to continue their search.
The tequila bottle. So that part, Joe's exaggerating that part. The tequila bottle, you're already gone. After the tequila bottle, no problem.
Real quick, this is who we are. For most of you that's familiar that don't know us, my name is Freddy Garmo. I'm here with part of my law firm. So over the last 20 plus years, we've grown to a firm of 6 attorneys, some support staff, and we're doing all sorts of different types of law. So we taught on different areas, but today we really want to talk about specifically how to handle a business from the seller side, the buyer side, all of the folks here in the room that are affected by a sale in different aspects. So that's our goal.
Before we start, we have to have a couple things. We apologize again for this. We're not Ticketmaster, but we will give you 3 vouchers.
Next week?
Next week, so you see it sites. Okay? And have for all summer. We'll make it up.
Actually, don't come next week. We got our team. Come the following week.
The following week.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're going to make it up somehow. We're going to figure out. There's a sign-up sheet that we have over there. We'll bring it here. But before we do that, how about, since I know about half or more of the room in here, how about we start with everyone just giving a quick introduction so people know. Because part of 30 Insights is you're supposed to meet others, network and talk, and that's a good part of it. So it's not just about us up here, 2 good from now, you can come back to that. But for the unique group that we have here.
Oh,
I think it's done with someone else.
get it over with, Nikki. Get it over with.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Freddy, for inviting me.
Thanks for
I
inviting us.
appreciate it. My name is Nikki Heath. I'm an insurance broker, but I call myself an insurance consultant. And I have been in the industry for a long time. I've been a broker for 25 years. And I also am the principal owner of Nikki Heath Insurance Agency. There is 8 of us there, all licensed, trained, experienced, and our focus is commercial lines insurance, which includes business owners. And we have all kinds of sizes of clients, and small business owners are our favorite because we're a small business owner, and we think America runs on small business, and this small business has some of the most innovative and hardworking, committed people. And our job, and no matter what the size of the premium is, our job is to make sure that they are protected. Insurance is not the most loved product in the world. and insurance policies are not the most interesting reading material. So we understand that when somebody buys a business or is selling a business or whatever, they need us to explain all those terms.
So I'd like to recommend your name and your business and we move on, or we'll be here all afternoon.
Okay, I was just gonna finish up. I'm sorry I talked too much, but that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Nikki.
Yeah.
Next door there.
All right, my name is Garmo. I'm a real estate broker. I sell residential, commercial real estate. My office is in Alcohol, East County. Robert Garmo, attorney. I do mostly immigration and real estate.
I'm Miss Stevens. Sure, my company's called Pass It On, and that's exactly what we do. We do business succession planning and estate consultation.
Bill Santos, I coach and mentor CPAs and financial advisors on how to develop business.
Great, thanks, Bill.
I'm Bonnie Newland, with Transparency. I do financial strategies in my office.
Thank you.
Kathy Coleman, I'm a CPA. About half of my clients are business, real estate, small businesses. The other half are individuals. I practice in Mission Valley.
I'm Michelle Rankin. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for about 20 plus years. I've done primarily real estate litigation, but I'm moving over into the criminal defense. I really like it. So, you know, the criminals come out.
Scott Stevens with California Wealth Transitions. We're a small independent firm just up off the 556, specializing in exactly what we said, transitions, retirements, divorces, passing on legacy wealth when somebody passes away, that type of thing.
My name is Paula Travato. I'm a person as we think. So actually right across the street from your office in El Cajon, and I work with Matuk on the deposit side.
George Marquez, I'm also with Transamerica, doing insurance uses for state preservation
and Cody Hutcherson, with Coldwell Banker of Delmont.
I'm Maha Sato. I'm with First Citizens with Paula, and I'm a commercial lender for small business, real estate investment.
You guys have SBA products?
Yes, we do. We have 504s and 7As, and I actually been in retail banking, consumer lending for about 30 years.
Thank you, Mom.
I'm Bill McCloskey with Allison McCloskey Escrow Company here in San Diego.
And you guys do bulk sale, commercial,
Bulk sales,
residential?
Charlie does my bulks. I do the 1031s. Of course, we do residential and commercial, but we also do what's called holding escrows, which is personal property escrow. So if somebody was selling a car or an airplane, we handle those types. We handle transactions with disputes, stuff with the city, so kind of off the wall stuff. We have to have a separate license and bond and separate trust accounting to be able to do that.
Thanks, Bill.
And I'm Claudia Garcia. I work for Bill. I am the escrow officer who handles the bulk sale transfers, which is the sale of the business assets. Can include agency license, or it could be just regular sale of a business. And I also handle other types of escrows, which is regular sales, short sales, refinances.
She's a super escrow officer. She's, we'll talk about that more, but she's very, very good at what she does. Thanks, Claudia.
My name is Matt Sheena. I'm a new associate at Garmo & Garmo, primarily litigation, real estate, and personal injury.
Thanks, Matt.
From last year, I managed a yacht charter company.
Yeah, charter. So if I want a big yacht, I come see you. All right. Thanks for coming.
Adele Hamill, I am for Garmo's paralegal.
I'm Peter Issa. I'm a law clerk at Garmo & Garmo.
Thank you both.
Steve Garbo, I'm a financial advisor at CPA firm.
Chanel Afro, I'm a real estate agent at Garmo, site by site in Tom Jack.
My name is Starling. I manage the commercial division for the state of California with Boston National Highway. So about 20 years of commercial experience and at least 10 or so in residential prior to that with good counties.
Thank you, Danette. Thanks. And we encourage all of you to communicate and exchange at least contact information, and as part of this process. So we should definitely encourage that. Real quick, we're going to talk for about a half an hour to 40 minutes. We're going to leave a little bit of time at the end. And the way we like to do these presentations to make it more interactive, so we want to hear from everybody. So we'd like to bring specialists from every discipline to kind of give us their experience, and we'll tell you kind of the legal side of things, and you can tell us your own perspective on some of these issues we're going to be talking about. So these are kind of some of the overall topics. Who you're working with, who do you represent, very, very important. Before, during, and after, and some of those types of businesses, business structures, and we'll talk about some asset and stock purchase agreements. So in anything that you do in life in general, you need a good team of people around you. So this is not an exception. So in a typical real estate or even a business transaction, these are some of the professionals you're going to have to deal with to have a good chance of making that investment successful. So we always strive, we always encourage for buyers and sellers to really associate themselves with the right people, get the right advisors around you, get the right advice to increase your chances of success.
The Southern California Institute actually, by the way, we're passing out blank piece of paper just in case you want to take notes. No making paper. So this group of people that you have up here, that's professionals. Southern California started when we realized that we didn't have as professionals the other professionals around us. They just kind of came maybe with a client, or we might have to deal with a bank, or we might have to deal with a realtor, or God forbid we have to deal with a CPA. But the same thing, the CPA said I got to deal with an attorney. But what we found in Southern California Institute is if you start by assembling that team, not just as a client, but as a professional, we became much more successful, better results for the client, better results professionally for us, and a happier life when we brought that team in together. Because now we're not scrambling. And now I don't have to try to pretend to be the smartest person in the room, because everybody knows I'm not. So I have all these smart people around me that can help with these issues. So the collaborative aspect really is the genesis of the Southern California Institute saying, how do we bring professionals, this group here, the person we have here, together, where people can pick up the phone and say, I have a bill, I have something to help you with this. And we've seen a lot of friendships, professional alliances grow out of this. Let's see, you're one of them. There's others in this room. Some from 20 years ago that come back. So we see that's really good to have that. So I don't think we can overemphasize this group or others you might want to add to that. It's just supposed to be illustrative of what you need as professionals. So if I'm the business attorney, I don't just go out and do it myself. And that is almost all that attorneys do. They sit in the room in their office and they work everything out. And only when they have to, they reach out. If you have whatever it is you do what you do until you absolutely need to go get somebody else to help you. And if you don't see that opportunity and you blow right by that off-ramp, you're out of town, out of gas somewhere before you realize I should have gone back and that needs help. So it really helps to work. I hope that out of this, some of the new faces I see and some of the old, that you find yourselves working together, or at least talking about some of your common issues and maybe clients.
And the main reason why this approach is important for all of us, right? Keep in mind we're all professionals. We all owe a legal duty and an ethical duty and a fiduciary duty to act in the client's best interest. So how do you act in the client's best interest? Make sure he gets the right people around him. Make sure he gets the right advice. And these are some of the folks that can provide those services. I'll let you read what that is. This is what some dictionary define businesses, but here is what it really means to me. And I think Alex will agree with this. Why do people have a business? Why do people want a business? Why? You mentioned.
There's only one reason. To own or start a business, what is it? You've heard me say this before, it's not fair, because we're not going to give away a bottle of wine for this. What is the one reason to start a business?
Money.
Make a living, money. Okay, is that kind of the same thing? Money.
Your boss.
Yeah, I like that, right? You like that?
It's a lifestyle.
Lifestyle?
It is a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle. It's a paycheck and it's a lifestyle. Entrepreneurs, that is, if there are business owners and entrepreneurs. What other reason is it for?
She answered it.
Who did?
Chanel.
Count, you certainly say that. You do count, but you, okay, tell everybody what it is.
To sell it.
Yeah. To sell it. The only reason to start a business is to create something you can sell. Otherwise, it's a job, it's a lifestyle, it's a paycheck. And those have wonderful things attached to them, more money. But they also have a downside, because you're just working that paycheck, that job. And sometimes I've run into entrepreneurs and say, you know what, I want to be my associate down the hall and just sit in the office and do the work and go home and not take this problem. I'm sorry?
I could do that for 10 minutes.
You're not built to do that.
No, I'm not.
Right. But, again, think about it. Think about the takeaway. This is a takeaway. The only reason for that business is to sell it, because you're not going to take it with you. At some point, you've got to go away from the business, whether it's voluntary, involuntary, however. And now what are you going to do with that business? Have you created something that has value that you can sell? And every business can be sold.
Are you sure about that?
Professional fixers.
While you're up here, give us who you are and what you do so everybody knows who you are.
Oh, great.
Yep, it's right on the spot.
Awesome, yeah.
Good friend.
Sorry I'm late, guys. I'm Nathan Bissett. I'm an attorney. I'm an employment attorney, actually. We do all ranges of employment law, from business compliance to the employee side. We kind of prefer the employee side, but you can certainly help with the compliance needs. I was in-house at Starbucks for a few years, so I like the management side. I'd like to help a small business kind of get off the ground, or dot those I's, cross those T's, just in case they have a wage and hour issue or other compliance needs. So that's what I do in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. Of course, thanks.
Certainly.
That's okay. Businesses are very unique because they're really like no other asset, right? We think of real estate, we think of other types of classes of assets, but businesses are extremely unique. A lot of times the value of a business, it's something that you can't really grasp. It's not tangible. It's usually intangible. And we'll talk a little bit about that, and these are some of the examples of why businesses are unique. From the legal side, I think also probably from, well, it depends on, I guess, what happened where. Representation is very, very important. So if I'm representing the seller in the business, right, we march on a different path. If I'm representing the buyer, I gotta protect the buyer's interest. So the first question I ask, and I've had this a couple of times, the buyer and seller walk into my office, it's Freddy. He wants to sell, I want to buy. Right? That happens to you guys all the time in escrow. What do? What do I represent? And can I represent both? The answer is yes. Are there a ton of disclosures and waivers I have to sign? Yes. Do I want to represent both? Probably not. This means a very tough position. We call it conflict. Some conflicts are actual, some conflicts are out there. Very, very difficult to represent both buyers and sellers in one transaction. If you live good for the geese and not good for the gander, vice versa.
But it happens when they come to you, that clients come in, or advisor bring a client, and this is great, Alex. They've got a buyer already, and and how far along? Well, they're bringing the buyer with them, and they're all set. And they have to do a disclosure. They've already reached maybe price, agreement on price. So it's hard. It can be done. We try to take out on one side of the other. Sometimes it happens. In which case, if you're not an attorney, consult with an attorney, figure out what the conflicts are and what the requirements are for disclosures, so you don't get in trouble. Because not everybody's going to be happy on that. They think they're happy going in. Why are they happy? Because they're saving. They only pay one lawyer or one CPA or one professional to help them with this approach. And believe me, sooner or later, some of them will not be happy. Yes?
Consult an attorney and also call your professional insurance provider. And they have a department set in to tell you what you should be doing and not doing and what makes them happy and not happy.
That's right. That's a very important thing. Just interact with the partner. Thank you.
with sufficient disclosures, what we call a waiver of conflict, joint representation documents, things that you can do to protect us a little bit, but it's never 100%, right? The trick is always going to be a trick. They're always going to sue you if something goes wrong. So we're very careful about who we represent, and we make it clear in writing we represent the buyer or seller or both. And if it's both, we just go through that disclosure process.
Can I make a recommendation to you guys as lawyers?
Sure.
When you are in the process of closing or the client comes in and says they're selling the business, please make him understand that once you have an agreement, it's just an agreement. You don't have anything signed and the business is still in your name. So you don't call your broker and ask him to cancel your policy as of today, because legally you're liable as long as your name is on a license and your name. That's been the most challenging for us as insurance brokers.
Well, that's again the do-it-yourself who has gone way downstream before they go to a professional and says, you know, what do you mean you have to pay the price and you cancel the insurance? And you get notice to your land and you've already booked a trip to Europe. But yeah. That happens.
Thank you for that, if you do that.
But what you can do, Vicki, if you're on the other side, is just request a copy of the closing statement, right? For example, she knows what we go through. There are some things you can't even do until you formally close escrow.
Right.
So one way to protect us, can you please send me over the closing statement? And we've done that as well, too. All right, well, there's this thing called due diligence, which, again, is extremely important in evaluating any kind of asset, especially a business. So this is stuff that you do before you purchase, right? This is when you call your lawyer, you call your broker, you say, hey, I like this business, what do you think? So there are some of the things that, we go through as part of that due diligence process.
And then when they like the business, not because they've done a due diligence and have looked at all the documents, they like the business because it looks good, it's sexy, maybe they saw people coming and going, they heard it's a good business, they're looking at it with rose-colored lenses. I like this business, I want it. But the reality is, you can't like it. I guess I'm not on any of the social media, but I know people can like things on certain things. You're laughing at me, I'm not. But you can like, and that's very easy to do in today's world. I like this. But you're not going to like the business until you truly have gone through the due diligence and looked at the documents. And so many clients, they want to push away from it because they think, this is true for what is coming, you haven't had this experience, that we're just deal killers. But, yeah, I know, have you looked at the books? What about the
That's a
leases?
deal killer.
Exactly. And we're going to find
Somewhere
something.
down there.
But they know deep down that
Yeah.
if they have, assuming they have, correct. This is not good.
It's right here. Here it is.
And we're going to kill the deal because maybe he deserves to die. Maybe he deserves to be resuscitated in a certain way or restructured. So, the due diligence and look at all these things. Lease reviews. We'll have a lease. And he told me he has a lease, and that business been there. The business does look good. Everybody knows the business. It has a lease and has options.
Sure.
And what happens to the options?
The most important document in any business transaction is that lease agreement, and we'll talk about the reasons why. Yes, sir.
If you do have somebody with a business that's coming to you that's interested in selling, they haven't started any process, they're not doing it themselves first, but they're interested in gaining a valuation of their business, can you guys help with tangible?
We do. That's a different
intangible
presentation.
Sure.
That presentation is.
But that's something you guys, you do in-house, or you have somebody that you work
No,
with?
we work with professionals who do evaluations because that's the starting point for the sale of business. And not only for the sale, but for the preparation. You want to sell a business in 2 or 3 years, do an evaluation today. And use that evaluation to find out what the value drivers are. To find out what you can do to increase the value of that business. Where the weaknesses are that if you start to sell it, the customers start to go away. Are they going to be skittish about the potential sale? So we have a presentation that I do called 7 Steps to Exit Strategy, and the key in that to preserve, protect, and promote values is valuation. And again, we push back on that because it costs money to get a good valuation for what we want. I just won't work anymore with someone that won't get a valuation done.
And the problem with that, people are too cheap to do that. When I sell businesses, if I tell a client I'm going to charge you $500 to do valuation on business, they won't pay you. But for the house, they'll be happy to pay $500. But not for the business, even though the business might be worth more money. But it's just too damn cheap. That's all it is. You know.
Because they haven't been educated to that, right?
Yeah.
You know, the house is going to live in it, they haven't been educated to why that's important. Or they think that they know better.
Yeah.
You know, the engineer client I had says, I did one, we had to do one for the estate sale when my partner's parents passed away, so we have it here. I'm an engineer, I just change the numbers. And then we'll have an update, just update the number. And that doesn't work.
And that also, businesses are subjective. Like the house, you can look around the neighborhood 5 blocks over, there are three houses sold, 3 bedrooms, 2,000 square feet, you know the value within $2,000. Business, the business you think is worth $1 million as a seller. The buyer thinks it's only worth $200,000. I'm a broker, I can tell you it's worth maybe $500,000. So it's subjective. It's hard to tell you what a business is worth. You really show financials and all that. So it's a little bit more complex than that. But we can help with that if you have somebody that has a business.
I've got a client that is interested. Time frame was the big thing for me. You're saying at least 2-3 years in advance, or as soon as possible?
As soon as possible. I'm just saying that even earlier, because we use valuation to find ways to increase the value of business. Because valuation is what? They find out what the business is worth. They look at factors. And maybe look at a factor that they've identified in a footnote is a little weak. And so the footnote suggests that if this area, this line of business was improved, the value would go up 10-20% maybe. Well, that's an area where maybe you have a few years to work on. So you certainly need it. How long before you want to, what's the shortest time you want to do on a business? I mean, people come in, they sold the business last week. My choice is.
Well, Alex, I mean, if you think about when you're selling a business, you have a buyer. The vast majority of buyers need a loan. And so, for example, when I sell a hotel business, a lot of hotel owners, Kathy knows as a CPA, play around with their numbers. And so, for example, capital improvement could be done as expenses. So we have 2 full years of tax returns before you sell, like Alex says. By the 3rd year, then your buyer can actually get a loan purchase in that business. So please do 2 years.
The tax returns and the financial accounting feed into that valuation. So one of the first things I tell people is, like, when I'm going to the Schedule C and they want to deduct everything under the sun, the first thing I say to them is, you're not borrowing any money the next 2 years, are you? Because if you are, you need to think not just about how to like the tax, but how to make your income look good, and stop putting your personal expenses through the corporation if you want to see the value go up.
Right.
Start now doing it right.
To be honest, my ideal, going back to what I said at the beginning, the only reason to own a business, to start one, is to sell it, is I would start getting ready to sell the business the day I started. So I start my clients thinking, begin with the end in mind. Someday you're going to want to sell this business, so what are we going to be doing? Thinking along the lines of, you can appreciate, you can write off, but when you need to borrow money, you got to be in a different mode. When you're going to sell, you got to be in a different mode. So the ideal is years and years, and give as much time as possible.
So I have a client that's not in the verge of selling, but in the verge of getting investors with the business.
That's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So I recommended evaluation, highly, and they didn't pay. So, I mean, that's priority 1, right?
Right.
Because if you have an investor, how you determine what
percentage?
Yeah, exactly. So what's the best language other than come on, don't be cheap, don't be stupid.
I think I can answer that. I think what I would do in a case like that is I start asking questions and say, how much of the company are you selling for that amount to that person? And then you say, well, how much are you selling to the company for this amount to that person? Well, is that the same? Do you think, when you start asking questions, do you think the total company is that proportion to the total company's worth? And just ask questions, because I think it's really easy to get in arguments with people. But I think if you ask questions, you
So they
can,
see it doesn't all line up.
yeah, right, get them to start thinking about it. So that's what I would do. Because if you just harangue them, you have to get evaluations, they're not going to get it, they already made a decision not to. You have to give them additional information for them to change their mind.
And do you think that the evaluation is going to increase the value so you can get more of an investment?
That's a good thing.
I think so. I looked at their, you know, balance sheet.
And maybe they're afraid that it's going to go the other way.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to pay $5,000 and I'm going to lose the investment because then they're going to find out what really bad business I'm running here or what, the skeleton's closet. But those need to be cleaned up. But I think it improves it. You know what? You get more with that. It's the way real businesses are running. The Fortune 500 doesn't do anything without, valuations and studies. So why are you back home in America not doing it?
This is kind of a summary of the process to go through. So we'll kind of touch on each of these issues real quick, just to kind of share with you why these steps are important. Obviously, the beginning of any kind of transaction begins with an agreement, a purchase agreement. And what's cool about these is there's a lot of pre-printed fill-in-the-blank forms now for brokers to use. AIR makes one, CAR makes another one, and lawyers have their own form contracts that we use to prepare these agreements. But these are extremely important agreements. This sets the path for the entire transaction. I know escrow loves it when we have a detailed agreement signed by both parties. We attach a copy along with the buyer's deposit saying, here, Bill, here's a new escrow. Versus, and we'll talk about this, buyer and seller walk into your office, right? They think they have a deal, they want you to start drafting the escrow instructions. I know you guys do that, but it's not the preferred way. So, purchase agreement, again, who do you represent? Go over the basic terms. Usually there's an LOI, a letter of intent, that's executed before, so if you want to match those terms, contingencies, extensions, closing date, and things that survive the closing. Here's an example that I always like to use, and what to do and what not to do. So again, for those of you that don't know what escrow does or the purpose of escrow, I grew up in the Midwest most of my life, and most of those states, along with the Eastern Coast states, don't use escrow. They use attorneys to do all their closings. They use a title company, but they use attorneys for doing. Here in the Southwest, we're fortunate to have escrow company, which is really a third party, disinterested, doesn't represent either party, but they take instructions from the buyer and the seller to consummate the transaction. So the more we do as professionals to have a really good agreement, send it over to them, all they got to do is reference that and incorporate that by reference to make their life easier. Do you agree with that, Bill and Claudia? Yeah. So here's what to do and what not to do. Financing. Again, we're talking about this, why having a good set of books is important. I always like to say, and I think Robert pointed this out, you always think like a bank. Think like a lender. If you think that way, you're going to get far ahead. Because bank wants good financials, right? They look at the borrower's various issues, credit, down payment, and ability to repay. And there are different types of products, different types of loans. So these are things that you should consider if financing is part of that deal. And financing is probably part of most of these deals. Nowadays,
that goes in line with your question about their cheap evaluations. Evaluations are appraisals. Lenders love evaluations. And so, there's value there in your client saying, or counseling, well, I don't want to spend $500 or $5,000 doing a business evaluation. There's actually benefits in it.
Is there left to refinance their building that they own with the business as well? When valuations kind of help them with that as well?
Sure.
I win.
The valuation is real quick. The fear that sometimes it's going to come back bad.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Alex, I got a great price, but I do valuations, and they may come out bad. One of the things we've done is we, as lawyers, pay for the valuation. Client pays us eventually. But we say, you know what? I'll own the valuation. It'll be an attorney work the product so that I see it. and it's not going to be discoverable if there's a dispute later on. So one way of doing it is having a lawyer have received the evaluation, look at it. We have some things to do before we can sell this business. And I've seen that, put it to file, but it's not going to come out in the lawsuit afterwards if they go forward with any way with the deal. Or another lawsuit, another buyer coming down the road later and asking the client for all their financials, including valuations that have been done in the past. So that's one way to protect it.
It actually opens up other things to look at. It could be, their CPAs are making errors in the way they're filing their tax returns. So if you're going to make your business profitable and it's going to be, a buyer's going to be able to get a loan on it, it's going to make it that much more valuable to purchase. So, the buyer knows that they can take these financials and go to a bank and get finance. So the value that you're paying for it, I think, would be a lot more.
Lending institutions see the value, and they want it. If you can get the client to see that, why do they want that? They know something we don't know, right?
Yeah. A lot of times you can amend your tax returns and you can go back, a couple of years and try to really fix the issues that could possibly be fixable if it can, to really get the value.
We work with a number of really good valuation experts, and a couple of them have almost convinced me that is the single best tool to, apart from efficiency experts and lawyers, CPA, everything else, but with an evaluation you can improve a business value of a business. Because a good evaluation is going to be that roadmap.
It's very revealing. I think one of the issues that the business owners I know run into, not that they're ignorant, not that they're dumb, it's pride of authorship, and they understand their business better than anyone on the planet does. And they also know, which is a fact, that if you go get 3 appraisals, it can all be different. So that causes some consternation as to, well, what am I getting? Who do I go to? How am I going to decide? Why shouldn't I just measure these things? You know what I mean? So you do have to be sensitive to that and help them see it as more of a tool and less of a, you can't do this yourself type of,
An alternate way to finance is like banks or government financing is what we call private seller financing. So it's been huge, it's been big in what we do. Almost every deal has some kind of seller, very back seller financing. Kind of dangerous on the seller side. Very great or very good on the buyer side. A lot of times these buyers will default, hey, renegotiate, whatever, who knows? And the seller is here, he already sold the business, acquired the possession. It's a really tough position to be in. But it happens because the sellers want to sell. They don't have great books. They can't get financing. So what's the other option? Get some seller financing. We've talked about how important this process is. And in my short 22 years of law experience, I probably read how many leases. And for some reason, a lot of buyers underestimate the value of a good lease review. Then I realized this is the single most important agreement you're going to have for many, many years. And if you ever want to sell that business, you're going to have to pass it on to someone else through either an assignment of lease or through some kind of other mechanism. And these leases are very, very tricky, right? If I'm representing a landlord, I'm going to draft a very landlord-friendly lease. If I'm representing the tenant, on the other hand, right, everything changes. That's why that who I represent thing comes in again.
Especially the insurance.
I'm telling you, I drafted a lease for the landlords where the insurance paragraph is 5 pages, right?
And impossible to move.
Right, and the premium is so high, right, that it becomes crazy. Then if you don't match the requirements that you're in breach of your lease agreement, they can send you a notice of default. They can do all these nasty things. Very, very important. Yeah. So again, very important. One of the provisions that always comes up is what we call options to extend. Most cases have, like, for example, a 5-year term with 2 or 3 5-year options to extend. Sometimes the options are personal to the original tenant and may not be transferred. So here you are buying a business thinking you have 20 years, but you only have that initial term because the options can't be transferred. After one of my clients bought this great business for $1 million, thought he had all this time. Landlord said, no, I'm sorry. So now we had to renegotiate with option. They don't want some more money, but we got him back. But it cost him a lot of money. Why? Because he didn't have somebody review that lease for him. Tell him, hey, those options are not transferable. That's just one of those provisions. Rent escalations, right? There's different ways for rent to increase. And every lease, almost every lease, has built-in increases. Most of them are CPI, what we call the Consumer Price Index. Some of them are fixed, 3%, 4%, 5%. And some of them are what we call fair market rent value. So what happens is every 5 years, right, the landlord will get a broker, tenant will get a broker, the brokers come together and find a comparable place for rent. Sometimes landlords entice you to sign a lease, very cheap rent, right? When your option comes up, your rent doubles. So people don't really acknowledge what that means. They don't really understand what a fair market rent value is because it could double or triple your rent. Lease review, again, very, very important. Another process or another requirement is applying and getting the correct licenses for that business. There's a million types of businesses and a million types of licenses. So just be mindful of what it is that you're buying and just make sure that you get what the seller has, right? It's a simple process. You just have to apply and get them. Some of them are standard. These are just a few that we've named. And some of them, there's a process you have to go through to get approved.
So we need to find out ahead of time if our buyers qualify for that lease. Might be a great business, we've done it as part of the diligence. We've done that, the lease is fine, everything's fine, but you're not. You won't qualify for an ABC, a living.
Well, that's why we put contingencies in that original purchase agreement. Says that this agreement is contingent upon buyer's review and approval of the lease agreement. Or, whatever, ABC approval, this approval, that way. If it doesn't get work, you have a way to back out and get your deposit back. These are the other typical agreements that you're going to see in a lot of different businesses. Again, it just really depends on what type of business you're buying and what it is that we're talking about. I'll give you a second to look at those documents. And Alex, and I think most people talk about the importance here of what buy-sell agreement, what it is. So just really in a quick nutshell, a buy-sell is an agreement by two or more partners that really addresses issues such as what happens if you die, divorce, bankruptcy. What if you want to sell? What's the value? And how do we make that purchase happen? Life insurance is always a good answer to that, right?
The dying plan. What if the partner becomes disabled?
Disabled disability is very, very good. So the last thing you want is to inherit some guy's spouse as your new partner who knows nothing about your business. So how do you buy that spouse out? Where's the money going to come from?
And the buy-sell is like a prenup to the business. Before the honeymoon, before everything starts to go down the handbasket. And you've got some arrangements. So if your client wants to sell to an investor, that investor should see it as a buy-sell because that may control the manner in which that money can come into the company in exchange for stock, for interest in the company. So that really is the agreement that deals with all voluntary and involuntary transfers of ownership in the company. I think more than the lease review, I think it's the most important agreement. But we have different views on that. They're both equally important. They just have to be looked at because, and if there isn't one, and there is more than one owner, you've got real problem.
Alex, you say it's one of the most important.
I think it is.
What percentage of businesses actually have a buy-sell in place in your experience?
Not too many.
Less than 20.
I'm sorry?
20?
Less
than 20.
Less than a third. I would say less than a third. It's better now than it was in the 80s and the 90s. In the 80s and 90s, I litigated that stuff because it was nothing. And now a partner has died, and or they didn't put valuations, or they didn't have insurance in place.
Yeah, they see you, and then they don't put the insurance in there.
And so we litigate that because now you have the whole business is at risk. So now, the business is now a $50 million business, but there's no roadmap on how to deal with a disabled or deceased shareholder or a divorcing one or one that wants to voluntarily disband the business.
Even
So-
with investors and minority partners, like your investors, you want to make sure that it's very clear what would happen if someone else with those investors are theirs, or they have a mandatory right to buy it back at a insurance price.
That's part that three of them agree it's the one, and that's the doctor.
You know that guy.
Yeah, they all have to agree.
We're gonna, if you guys have any questions about any of these, let us know, otherwise we're gonna kind of. Yes, sir.
Okay. How valid are non-compete agreements in California?
Yeah, they don't.
Not valid.
Yeah, of course don't like them. I mean, it depends. I mean, they are enforceable to some extent, but, you know, the law wants you to make a living, right? That's a general concept, but also within parameters. So they don't, courts don't like them in general. That's why we spend a lot of time negotiating them, get independent legal counsel to review them. Everybody signs off. They become a little more enforceable.
But even then, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, they're tough to enforce. But you still put them in there anyway.
It doesn't hurt because you can limit the time, if you limit the scope and nature and geographic areas, you start to get a shot at it. And it somehow ties into true proprietary IP, intellectual property of the business. So it's tied to the intellectual property that I'm out there selling. I can't use that. Now I might need it. But it's got to be very limited in time. In San Diego County, material, Orange, maybe.
Also, you spread the seller in advance, tell the seller they're not completely agreement. Usually, it's within.
That's a great point.
Within like 5 years or within 5 miles. Of course, if you want to open a business, Orange County, go ahead and do it. I don't care. But let's say I have a liquor store, for example. I'm going to open up another liquor store across the street, which is not going to happen, obviously. That's this issue. That would hurt them. Yeah, so, but usually it's just fair to sell it, more or less. Than actually just really value at all.
And I agree. I think that's a great point. Most people don't know that they're not really enforceable, right? Most people think, oh, I have something that prevents me from doing something else. Most people are good with that. You know, we go through these and we litigate them. We know how the courts look at them, but the fact that you have one usually prevents that wrongful conduct.
What the morals clause.
Hello. Oh, all right. Thank you for coming. Here's kind of some other things you can talk about. This is, kind of goes into more into asset protection. You know, I can't tell you the number of folks that purchase businesses in their name alone, using their SS number. And, you know, for years and years and generations, we've all done that. My parents have done that. You know, this concept of asset protection, entity formation, entity layering, series LLCs, all sorts of things are really kind of a new concept that, honestly, we litigate. So this is...
These are all stapled somehow.
They are?
Groups are not, that's right. These are one page, both sides. So they index stapled.
You're not... You take some of that break in your nose. Yeah, we can pass it around.
Tear one off and shoot. Here, you don't need to take it out. Tear one off. What it does is it shows you like sole proprietor, and then net operating loss, capital gains, wages, liability on the back, liability. So some of the characteristics of the entities, and you can use this with clients and yourself to look at it and say, am I concerned with? I like this side. Am I concerned with net operating loss? Can it be carried over 2 years? So proprietor, what's it like on limit liability? So sharing this with the client sitting down, you almost self-select what the NBA is doing. If you're more interested in taxes, you're going to go one direction. If you're more interested in liability, you're going to go more in my direction, right? So it's two sides.
So what?
Well, CPAs have these.
Yeah, I'll keep them open.
You'll take the stapled copies.
Yeah.
Well, the concept is, you know, before you close the escrow, right, think about forming some kind of legal entity to own that business. You know, we have different types of entities here, you know, S corps, C corps, LLCs, and they're all provide that similar corporate veil, so you can get some that protection from your personal assets, but they're taxed differently. So depending on the type of business, the kind of revenue you generate, all sorts of issues, but usually some kind of entity is very recommended to own a business. But if you don't, right, if you own it yourself, and then something happens, you get sued personally. You get sued personally, all of your assets are exposed. Versus a corporation or LLC, only the assets of an entity would be exposed to that potential threat. So that's what we call asset protection. Yes, sir.
Does California recognize a kind of a pseudo general partnership where there's no formal partnership agreement but people have been acting as partners?
Sure. Sure.
Because in New Mexico, I ran into that a couple times, even with California firms, and people thought they owned a company,
right?
But they had been dealing with another party, and it's like, no, you're actually partners.
Your partners in joint venture. Yeah. And I don't know, when you look at the sole proprietorship and mandated stock, why is anybody going to be sole proprietor? I just don't understand shaking your head. It's the worst thing. Well, not ever, because the founding fathers were also proprietors. So, I mean, since then, over here, there'd be a sole proprietor. But there were no corporations then, and there wasn't the kind of tax or litigation environment that we have now. So sole proprietorship, unless you're making, I would say, wooden trains with no moving parts in your garage and selling them at a swap meet.
Big enough not to swallow.
Big enough not to swallow. I mean, otherwise, find something else.
Do you guys suggest when the seller is looking at this, or the buyer is looking at this, that they should also pay attention to properties that they've been owned by the company and make sure those are in their own entities if it's necessary?
Oh, sure.
Like,
We assume a lot of this, the land isn't, but the land is part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, then listen
Or
to me on that one.
warehouses or whatever. Yeah.
You want to make sure that it's not, that there's he's selling you his business, but mom trust owns the land.
Yeah.
You don't know mom, you've never met mom.
And when the business comes in real estate, right, that's happens all the time. So you have two separate really transactions, two separate escrows, right? One has title, one doesn't. They're really two separate things on their own. But a lot of times they come together, and for lending purposes, the bank wants to know the allocation of price. So how much for this and how much for this, because their guidelines are different from they can lend on a business, how much they can lend on a real estate. So all those things are relevant. So those are things that we should take a look at. Real quick on LLCs and corporations, we have this concept. The litigators love this, what we call person and corporate veil. So you've taken the time to set up this uniform entity that you think is protecting you, and it should protect you if you do everything right. A lot of times you don't do everything right, like Kathy was saying, you start writing personal bills from your business or entity account, commingling of funds, and lawyers love that. But now, when we sue, we don't only sue the entity, we sue all the shareholders. We call that person in corporate veil. So be careful. If you are going to take the time and effort to set up an entity, do it right. Keep it separate. Open up a new account. Only write the business expenses out of that entity, and don't commingle funds. And there's other reasons why lawyers will pierce that thing.
I mean, Freddy, do you think for paying personal expenses from time to time, like maybe recorded as shareholder loan, because that's what I always tell my clients, that if you make that mistake, maybe they think they're dry cleaning bills, corporate expenses, say it's not, it's got to go to general loan. No. Let's find the dry cleaning bills, So would that be a reason you could break a corporate veil just because they paid some bills if they properly recorded them? And have you ever successfully heard that? Or?
It's more than one thing. I think it's
usually I don't find too much, but you find a few little things.
We do. And as litigators, what we do is before we sue somebody, first thing we do is we do an asset search, right? Making sure that that person has money. The last thing we want is to sue and get a judgment that doesn't go uncollectible. That's very important. When we do an asset search. Number two is when we sue everybody and everything, right? Including them personally. Let them file their motion to do this. Let them file all their documents to get themselves out of it legally. So we're going to sue the corporation, we're going to sue the shareholders, we're going to name 15 causes of action, and let's see what sticks. Right? And then they have to defend themselves. And that's when they want to resolve it, they want to settle, they want to go to mediation, because that's the protection Alex says. Discourages litigation and encourages settlement. That's really one of the key components of asset protection.
I've done some more than something, gives the corporate veil. I wouldn't have taken the case if I thought what I had in front of my due diligence in looking at the case beforehand. It was dry cleaning bills being paid. So since someone comes, picks up dry cleaning in the office, and the office pays them without a check or a credit card, that's not going to be enough.
Okay.
Here's the corporate veil is really where they're doing things where they're treating it more like a piggy bank. You know, piggy banks are easy to get money out of.
Okay.
Take a little knife and turn it upside down. As a kid, you can get the money out. They have a little rubber thing on the bottom. You can open it up, take the money out. That treating it that way and paying what I would find is more personal expenses, cars, vacations, household.
Okay.
Costco bill every month is to your house and your business, and it's accumulations. That's of a number of different breaches. Not one thing that it's properly recorded. It's an honest mistake. It's an honest mistake. The person was not truly using the company's all.
Okay.
And I think a good lawyer is going to look at that and say, not probably enough.
Okay.
This applies to exports.
That's the every
Nathan?
I was going to say there's actually an easier way now. Labor Code 558.1 now imposes personal liability for wage and hour violations. So owners, directors, officers, managing agents, even like your HR director, can be hit with personal liability for a wage and hour violation. So
that's this year, right?
That's as of January.
Yeah, January.
Yeah.
It's new as of this year.
Yes.
That's when you get the GNL coverage.
And we'll talk about
Employment practices liability coverage.
Insurance is coming up, because that's a huge part of what people think is asset protection. We'll explain that. Before, sir, we didn't get your name and what you do. I'm sorry. Could you share with us?
My name is Jose Diaz, and I run a consulting company for it.
All right. Great.
I was here as a friend of Julie Reese.
I talked to her.
Thanks for coming. Welcome. There's a concept in our asset protection world called layering of entities, and really rich, wealthy clients do that. Here's an example. This is a real signature case of a big lease that one of my clients has with Horton Plaza. So they have a small shop, Horton Plaza. This is a signature.
The names are real.
I'm sorry?
The names are real, right?
Names are real on the right, not the left, but yes. You can see her. So we have some attorneys here in the room. I mean, if I wanted to go sue Horton Plaza, what the heck would I sue? Think about this. 7 potential defendants, all different entities, across the country, just for me to file, and several probably cost me thousands of dollars. Versus on the other side, the tenant. Who's the tenant? No asset protection, right? They come after me and all my personal assets. So this is what sophisticated wealthy clients do. They layer their entities, make it very tough to get to the owner of that property. Again, asset protection discourages litigation, encourages settlement.
And they get all of his assets and half of his community property. Not many.
My wife will take that.
But is
She's not going to be very happy.
Is there a reason they use Delaware? Because, like, we also have this 1031 exchange, thing here, and we use BSTs with Delaware.
Maybe the CPAs in the house can tell us, but I know Delaware has very favorable laws for banks and corporations. So they limit their statute of limitations, they limit their exposure. That's why people go to Delaware or Nevada or Wyoming or Alaska. Their laws are a little bit different than our laws. Would you agree with that, Kathy?
No, I think it's a great question. A lot of people for their use in Delaware, and they run business in California. It's an extra $300 a year that they don't care.
Delaware has had the longest history of corporate laws. They even have a separate court. So here in California, you have a civil court. And then part of the civil court, we have criminal cases, we have probate, everything's under this one. You go to Texas, you have civil law courts and criminal courts. Criminal courts, all those judges do is see criminal cases. In Delaware, you've got a third, which is a corporate commercial courthouse system. Those judges see nothing but, and for hundreds of years, corporate work. So they develop a body of law with great expertise, because that's what the judges do. It's not a judge who never did a corporate case, it's a criminal, a VA got promoted to be a promotion deputy judge. And now as a VA, now they make decisions on it. So Delaware has that history, which lawyers like to tell you what it's going to say. But in the last 79, Nevada, Wyoming, and a number of other states, South Dakota, have all gotten on that bandwagon of creating favorable laws for asset protection and corporate structures. So they're catching up. They said, Delaware can do it, we can do it. And they actually have strong, I think, laws in Delaware are as strong as Delaware. Nevada or Wyoming have really strong short statute of limitations. It's almost embarrassing the things that they allow to happen. Say you're protected.
California, as most of you know, is a very heavily regulated state. A lot of our clients are leaving the state. Too many restrictions, too many taxes, state sales tax, income tax, all sorts of things. So it's a tough state to do business. Unfortunately, some of the big companies are leaving.
One of the things I ran into when I was forming my corporation was I tried to go the Nevada route, and realized that it was a little more restrictive than the Delaware one because you actually had to have an address there, license. Yes, it's a little different.
Yeah. Well,
it's $142.
Yeah, you can have an agent for service or process because we do that for our clients. That just means you can accept service on behalf of the entity.
Right.
So a lot of agents, like you said, for $100, they'll be your agent anyway.
And some of Nevada is becoming what they call California East. They've increased their fees a little bit. Well, it used to be $25 fees, now it's $50 fees. So they've increased their fees a little bit, but overall they still try. They don't try. I mean, you take whatever side you want on this, but they actively look to creating laws that are very, very friendly and harmful to the consumer and the debtors. Ex-wives. Ex-husbands. The legislature only meets twice a year. Well, some people say, well, they don't get in trouble because they're not passing laws. But what they do when they come back is they look to see what has happened in the last 2 years, and they pass laws to block it. So it creates for a better asset protection structure for the most part.
We're going to try to go to the last few slides just so we're on my floor. Give you past what you told you to do. So now that you've bought the business, you're running it, hopefully, or someone else is running it for you. So these are some of the considerations that should be considered during the business. So obviously, management is always important. Capital is important. Compliance. He was talking about how important compliance is, especially. Unfortunately, your worst enemies nowadays are your employees. And isn't that crazy? It's an unfortunate situation where there's huge litigation. Wage and hour claims, you didn't give me that lunch break, I worked 8 hours and 15 minutes, it goes on and on. And now they'll tell you they had interest, liquidated damages. I mean, something small could be 10 times that amount of money.
It's a great racket.
Yeah.
Wrongful termination,
There's also
discrimination, sexual harassment.
On top of the individual wage and hour claims, there's this bounty hunter claim called PACA. I don't know if you guys have had experience with this, where some attorney will write a letter to the state and copy you on there and say, these guys are violating the labor code. And that kicks in all these additional penalties on top of the individual claims. And if there's even one employee who's considered as a representative for maybe 20 others who are affected the same way, those penalties start to add up. So if their wage statement, for example, is incorrect, Labor Code 226.3 will say, well, the first violation is $250 per employee per pay period. You've got 26 in a year. The subsequent is $1,000 per employee per pay period. So if you got like 30 laborers who are affected the same way, it adds up very quickly. The state will take a piece of the action at 75%, and the other guy split 25%. So, and that's just one section. Yeah.
And the biggest challenge is ensuring that the company's clients.
Not wage and hour. There are still some limited coverage for it, but it's getting more difficult in Southern California to get that coverage. Very difficult. And penalties, of course, are not paid by insurance.
So we'll typically throw in like a tort claim to trigger the insurance.
Yeah, that's just the cost of defense and indemnity.
Well, that's usually a big check, though, right? Which is something that doesn't come in.
Cost of defense is, you lawyers know that.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's part of our world. Maintaining good financial, talk about all those reasons why, and then insurances, and then having annual meetings with your folks.
And if I make fun of that, running the business, those issues, the way I talk to clients, and maybe with clients that don't want to do this with them, that's not cheap, they're frugal. is tell them, look, you're very good at what you run your business and how you run it. You know how to make a widget. You do that very well. But the other aspects of it, you don't want to waste your time. Put it in the hands of people who are going to do it well for you and report to you so that you are not spending your time, except in annual meetings, worrying about HR issues, because they do good HR, worrying about all those other issues, your lawyers, your CPA. Have that done by your team that we talked about at the very beginning. Then the client understands how to use that team. It's much more effective for the client. They run a better business. Because my observation is most entrepreneurs are good at what they do. They're not good at the things that they need to have somebody pay attention to. And sometimes we can't afford. You can't afford an HR. You can't afford not to. I can't afford to buy sell because the insurance is too expensive. I just now put in buy sells to every entity. We do that because we think it's that important. We'll find a way to fund it. Because it takes a note addition just to keep them used to it. Because the smart clients, and most of them are smart, they're going to be thankful because they are now free to really do what they do best.
Real quick, in addition to employee claims, some of the biggest claims we see now are government claims. We know our government is broke, right? Federal, state, and local. So what happens when they're broke? How do they raise money? Right? They hire all these investigative units, and they go out and they cite people, and there's some of them. 8A lawsuits are huge. OSHA goes in randomly now, any store, any business, and cites you for all these violations. Very heavy. These are some of the other administrative claims. So government is broke. They go out and generate revenues. Who pays it? The business owners. Horrible fact. Insurance, we talked about that. Insurance is great. Insurance is awesome. Everybody should have it. Unfortunately, insurance doesn't cover everything. And even if you pay for those wonderful special endorsements, right, something that doesn't cover. So I think what every business owner should do is have a competent insurance broker. Here's my type of business. Here's my risk, right? Because insures risk. What's your risk? They'll find a way to insure it. So, and different businesses have different risks. So you just have to get the right type of insurance.
This coverage is called employment practices liability coverage. It's business owners are becoming more aware of it. And insurance companies, it used to be you have to buy a whole separate policy, but now they can include it with a small limit if your business policy.
But there are exclusions there too.
Yeah, nothing is covered for everything.
That's a
for
challenge.
sure. But it's better than nothing.
Now you have the business, you're doing a good job running it. Now let's talk about, what happens if you want to get out of this thing. Most businesses are sold. Some of them are transitioned into the right people. And it tells you here if you are going to transition it, how do you do it, for the possible purchasers, and how they can afford to buy you out. That's the biggest issue, right? You have this awesome business, you want to sell or transition it, but what's the mechanism for them to have in place that when you're ready to retire or God forbid something happen to you, that there's a way for you to get paid? I think Misty is awesome in this area, and I encourage whoever's thinking about that to have a conversation with her.
That's something myself, and that's what we're talking about that. This is back to my beginning with the end. I knew get out of this business. The vast majority of the 22 million businesses in the country don't have a market. They don't have capital market, financing. Where is this business going to go? I'm talking about $1 million business. I'm talking about $5, $10, $15, $20 million business. Where is that? Well, someone's going to write you a check. You're working, 6 to 9 at night doing the books at home. Someone will write you a $10 million check to step into your shoes. You built this thing up. If we go back to the graduation and the processes, we have that program, the 7 steps. We're going to find a way to get out of that business. And who is the person or persons that are going to step up? So that's what I do. As a trial lawyer, I learned asset protection, succession, transition. Succession means going to your children, family members. That's where most of that, and the next is transition. You transition it to a key employee, your key manager, your key employees, those in business who are trained. Or if you don't have that, you come to a group like this, us, and we've helped you groom your successor. Okay, what do those have in common? Your kids?
They don't have any.
Yeah.
Or they don't want that business.
Well, that's, when you find that out,
No, they're not interested.
no, when you find that out, you move on. Because if your kids aren't interested, then you gotta prove your own. So it's gonna be one of those. Because a lot of times the kids don't want the business. They want like the money, but they don't want the business. So it's gonna be the key employee. It's gonna be you groomed your own. And the rare is someone's coming along and really does buy the business, somebody, competitor or somebody else. The vast majority of them, you see that business, your dad's been doing that as long as I've been doing it, or maybe longer, I don't know. Oh, look, you've got years on me. I've been actually doing that for a long time, and that's who he looks to. Children, key employees, or helping the owners groom their own succession. Because it was not done. But then, because we say someone else cash is king, one of the things Freddy and I work real hard at is, if there's an exit strategy, there's always a way to cash out. So, yes, we're working together. You got 20% of my business now, but now Tom over here is going to buy it. I have a come along provision. I buy, sell. So that you come along and we sell it, we cash out. Because if that big cash day comes, why miss out on it?
So did you say that 20% of the businesses don't have a market?
I said, I don't know, no, that's, I didn't say
20 of the buy sell, right?
Yeah.
20 don't have a, less than 20 have a buy sell.
Have a buy sell. I think that I've read that there are 22 million businesses in this country that are the ones that I've used back then. The family owned. And those are not public businesses. Those are the businesses we run into the most. Those are the mom and pops. Those are the negative numbers, $1 million to in the tens of millions. It can still be a $20, $25 million business, and it's still a mom and pop business compared to $1 billion business. So those are the ones that we're concerned with. Those are the ones we need help. I don't have to worry about GM. They've got a lot of lawyers. they'll figure it out. And they're not, that's a transition. There's a market for it. They sell this in the public. So of the private, non-public, there's about 22 million. And they have some number. I mean, that's the number I read. It could be 30. It could be. It's in the 20s. No, it's still a huge number of people out there that need services. It's everything from the kiosks down here to all the businesses that fill this building and that building over there.
The bottom line for most of them is when you ask them what would happen to this, if something happened to you. That's the biggest one.
One of the things we should mention, at least I think Bill will agree with this, when we think of 1031 exchanges, few of us think about doing a business exchange, but the concept is the same. Bill, I know you get involved in doing 1031s for businesses as well as real estate, and it's kind of apples for apples, correct? Like for like.
Like for like, yeah, that's right. It's personal property exchange. Correct. Real property exchanges is a lot broader. But
so you sell a liquor store, you buy another liquor store, right? But you can't sell my rental and buy a restaurant, for example. Right? It's not like
you can't 1031 inventory either.
Right. That's correct. Right. So we come up with a value of the assets, if it's a furnished person equipment, whatever that thing is, and then that's the exchange we're actually doing. So it's available as well.
It's available. I don't see a lot of them.
Right.
But it is available.
What about the purchase price versus the sales price? Like how much you can exchange it for?
CPAs are but it should be equal or greater.
Right.
From an accommodator standpoint, it should be equal or greater. You know, and the mortgage should be equal or greater. But
these are a couple of other strategies. Preparing for exit. You know, again, always a process or a brain is always recommended. A lot of businesses, the owner is the business. So if the owner is gone, the business is gone. It's not something you can sell. You can see some that are built to sell, monitoring your debt, customers, all sorts of things. The main thing is really start planning early. This is extremely important. Get everything in line, at least maximize the value when you do sell. I think we're almost done. Preparing for exit, minimize tax to insiders, value to outsiders, asset versus stock. You know, a lot of times we have sellers with corporation LLCs that just choose to sell the stock inside their company instead of doing an asset purchase. And sellers prefer an asset. I mean, a stock purchase is easy, it's cheaper, it's quicker. Actually, do a closing in one day. You just acquired the stock. Nothing really changes except the ownership of that stock. But buyers have to be careful because when you purchase that stock, you're also inheriting potential liabilities and obligations. So you got to be careful what you put in that stock purchase agreement to make sure that what you're getting is really what you think you're getting. So it's good for the seller, but it may not be good for the buyer. I prefer asset purchases. That way we know what we're getting free and clear. We go through escrow, they do a notice of purchase of bulk sale. That way if anybody has a claim, they submit it through escrow. That way the buyer has to deal with it. So the caveat is when the seller is demanding a stock purchase, beware. Something out there.
And we do handle this.
Right.
Stock transfers.
One of those liabilities could be a sexual harassment claim. Could it, kind of a question, I mean, the sexual harassment could have happened in earlier years, and maybe that one of those people doesn't even work there anymore, right? But it's you can still sue the company, now you bought the stock, right?
Well, if you have a properly drafted agreement where you have a proper indemnification provision where the seller indemnifies the buyer for any and all action that occurred prior to the takeover date, then you can ship it on to the prior owner.
And still do a
But the problem is the prior owner is gone. He's enjoying his money in Hawaii, right? Now you got to go find him, drag him into a lawsuit, when now it's on your plate. Now you got to defend yourself, which is horrible.
And I have a solution for that.
Sure.
You buy an insurance policy with prior act coverage to cover the prior act of the previous owner.
Okay.
And that will protect you from any claims coming from whatever acts were committed prior to buying the business.
See, that's why you because you got to decide.
I didn't know you could do
Go to
that.
Hawaii, buy insurance. What's the cost?
So there's a way to protect yourself from that.
There are a lot of ways, and the thing is, you got a group like this, you're going to get better ideas, and you're going to mold it, customize it to that. You know, sexual harassment, is this a company that was known for that? You know, you're buying scooters, and now I got some concerns. I'm just trying to think of something that you would say, okay, this is a potential problem, a restaurant would be. Or are you buying medical practice? A lot of doctors seem to get themselves in trouble. I'm sorry?
Builders, contractors.
Yeah, it can be, you know, now you've got somebody who maybe they do. There's a lot of things so that to due diligence.
Here are a couple of some of the common mistakes that folks do when they're selling their business. I'll let you go through those. Again, don't do it alone. Get some right people with you. They can really, really enhance the value of your business. And then keeping it quiet. This is, again, our main motto. Get the right people around you, get the right professionals. I think we have some of them here in this room today, and it's well worth the investment. And the challenge is convincing your seller or your buyer to get these professionals to get the right advice. These are some of you talk about your former partners, what they do, different type of programs.
Jerry Mancini, I was a third partner. January, I was counsel, sophomore counsel to Jerry Mancini, and Garmo, and SEAL, which is the offshoot of when I left, what I recall, the base estate planning in California State Alcohol. This is also housed next door. So those three firms, it's the same, we just shipped it. I shipped it my hand. We had to make some changes. No, it's great to work with Garmo on also estate planning. You're doing estate planning now, so you know everything that's not estate planning goes to our collaborative partners, which is the Garmo, CEO, and we have law firms. We put on California Institute puts on. It's our education. Robert, Fred are fellows in the institute. They teach. They put on programs every Thursday except the fifth Thursday, and next Thursday October we're granted also for. No, it's the fifth Thursday next. Right? So we have a team of it instead. But it goes on every Thursday, 2:30 to 4, usually next door in our bigger room. was scheduled, but we have wine and cheese, and we have this kind of meeting on different topics. So if you've gotten an email, you're on the system. If not, where's the sign-up sheet? That's right. Send you a sign-up. I'm not sure what the next program is, but we teach buy-sell, there's estate planning, there's exit strategies, 7 steps to exit strategy.